to the EEA Seedcorn Fund Showcase. So what the Seedcorn Fund is, it's been running for this is the third year now. It supports the development of small-scale innovative projects aimed at improving delivery of higher education, both at either the undergraduate or the postgraduate student learning experience. So the funding is for short projects, usually 1 year or less, and they will be implemented in the academic year that the funding is awarded. So this is a showcase, but also if you have any questions, if you're thinking about applying for this upcoming round, we will talk a little bit. We'll have some time for questions and answers at the end regarding the applications for this year's round. But today we have 3 of the Seedcorn Fund winners from past years to share their projects. And we also have a video from one of the other ones. We'll start with Benjamin Elsner, who has submitted a video. His project is on the intuitive metrics approach to teaching econometrics. Each presenter will have around 10 minutes to present, and there will be around 15 minutes to 20 minutes of question and answers at the end. So please, if you have any questions, do pop them in the chat. The presenters may engage with you, or they might answer your question at the end. And yes, just for housekeeping, this seminar is recorded and will be posted on the CTAIL YouTube afterwards. Right. So we can start with Ben's video, Clodagh.
Okay, so my one and only responsibility is to share Ben's video, and hopefully you will all hear it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this talk, and I'm happy that I can present to you the project called Intuitive Metrics. My name is Ben Elsner. I'm based at UCD, that's University College Dublin. I apologize that I can't speak to you live today because I'm teaching as I speak here. But if you have any questions or comments on the project, feel free to just drop me an email. This project, Intuitive Metrics, is about teaching undergraduate econometrics. Now, if we look at how undergraduate econometrics is taught at my university and at many others, here are some screenshots from the Introductory Econometrics book by Jeff Wooldridge, and there's obviously many other textbooks that do something similar, where we see that students get taught the maths behind something like linear regression. They are shown some pictures that show what's behind the theory, and subsequently they're provided with examples, and then we send them off and teach them Stata or R or Python, give them data sets and have them play around with data sets and interpret their findings. So in other words, the approach that we take could be titled Theory Example Application. And there may be other ways of teaching undergraduate econometrics, but I have taught at several universities, and this is typically how it's being taught. And for example, I teach in every year about 300 to 400 students in econometrics, and there is always a handful of students who love that exact approach because it involves maths, it involves working with data, and it has nice applications. We get some nice data sets from sports or so, and they always enjoy that. But the majority of students, I get the feedback that they don't really develop any sort of affection for econometrics, and it maybe the approach with which we teach people discourages them, at least to a degree. And you know, there may be some students for whom the maths is too complicated, or some students who simply can't develop the intuition behind the theory. And maybe as teachers, we are also not that great at teaching the intuition the way we could. In other words, we could do better. Now, I'm not claiming that I can do better, but at least with this project, I'm trying to do better here. Okay? So the issue is, my issue that I've encountered a lot is many students simply don't learn econometrics very well with this approach. And what I do in my master's course, which is advanced econometrics, which means the master students who are taught this, they have already had one term of econometrics before I see them. In the first session, I put them into groups and I asked each group a simple question, namely, what is X and why is X important? And for each group, X is different. So I asked them, what is the sampling distribution? What is the law of large numbers? What is the central limit theorem? And interestingly, I have yet to get a perfect answer from a group. Some students get pretty close, but many struggle with these basic concepts. They can do very fancy things in R or Python. They can also sometimes prove very difficult things about the consistency of estimators and so on. But when I ask them, well, what is a sampling distribution? They tell me, well, it's a normal distribution. And you get a lot of incomplete answers. And that just shows that many students may not embrace those concepts, those theoretical concepts that are so central to data analytics, data science, and any other branches of statistics. And so that's why I decided to start the project Intuitive Metrics, simply to help my own students, but hopefully also many other students out there in the world. So the goal here is to have a learning platform that's free for anyone to use, that is not a substitute for the conventional way of teaching econometrics, but that teaches the theory behind basic econometrics based on several elements. So one are simple explanations, so explanations in fairly plain English. The other are animations. So rather than giving them gray static images, we have somewhat more colorful images that move, and that allows students to immerse themselves a bit more in what's actually going on. We have dashboards where students can play around with some of those concepts and thereby perhaps understand better what's going on. And for the future, I've also planned to do videos where I walk the students through those concepts and through the dashboards and through the animations and explain what they are all about and what they can take away from them. I wrote here videos in the future. I haven't shot any for this project yet, but if you want to see what these videos could look like, I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel for master students in causal inference, and the videos for this project will be somewhat similar. Now, if you wonder what I did with the funding, it's very simple. I hired a fantastic data scientist, data analyst, that's Shel Kariuki. She is a recent graduate of our Master's in Economics and Data Science at UCD and has worked for many years as a freelance R programmer. And she programmed the basic setup of the platform, which I will showcase in a second, and programmed the dashboards for me. Now, let me jump into the actual platform to show you what it looks like. So you can see here that this is what the platform looks like, and it's a fairly simple design.
It's all done. It's programmed in R and then published with Quarto. So it's an R Markdown document basically that brings this whole thing to life. That's easy to edit, easy to add to, and so on. And let me show you the one chapter that's a little bit more advanced here on the statistic foundation. So these are basically the basics we need to do econometrics, right? So here's the example of random variables. We have here
simple explanations, and we have also this box with definitions. What does Wikipedia say? What does ChatGPT say? How would we describe this in plain English? But then we move on to animations. So here's a very basic animation, right? So we just graph here the mean of those 4 dice rolls, and we can see that the sample mean changes every time we draw a new random sample. I can show you down here a few more animations just so you see what this could look like. So here we talk about a sampling distribution, for example, and we roll 2 dice at a time take the mean, and every time we do this, we add a dot to the distribution. So the sampling distribution builds up over time. Now we can do the same then to show what the law of large numbers is. And let me scroll down a little bit. So we roll 10 dice at a time here. And we can see that the sampling distribution is there. There is sampling variation, but obviously the sampling distribution is more narrow. Well, we can take this to greater extremes and roll 100 dice at a time. And again, we have sampling variation, but the sampling distribution is a lot more narrow, and each sample is very close to the population mean of 3.5. So these are some examples of what we're doing. Other examples, let me scroll up here, are dashboards, which are hosted in Shiny. So we couldn't really embed them in the platform because that would be computationally very difficult in terms of computing power and RAM that would be needed for the devices. And it should be easily accessible on mobile devices as well as computers. So we host them on a different website on Shiny. And this is just one example. You can see there is a bit of lorem ipsum gibberish still there. But you see the basics here, which is, students can here just select the sample size and then see, well, if two variables are positively correlated, well, the covariance is positive, guess what? But we can also see this here from the fact that we have more green dots than red dots. And so if we take the green quadrants and the red quadrants and see where we have more dots, well, that determines then whether the covariance is positive or negative. And that's obviously more accessible to students than just looking at a covariance through a mathematical formula. Now, what the future of this project will hold, we'll see. But so I received funding from the UCD School of Economics early in 2024, very generously. And as all academic projects go, in early in the year, you say, I'll have it done by Christmas, but that won't work, I'm afraid. One of the main reasons is that I've recently become department head, and that has eaten up a lot of my time. It's also very exciting, but that makes it a bit hard. So as academic projects go, if we can't do them by Christmas, we'll do them by next summer. But I'm confident that over that period, the next 7-8 months, I have a lot more time to work on this project. So thank you very much. And I'm very much looking forward to your feedback. So thank you, and just email me and I'm happy to chat to you. Thanks a lot.
So just to say, Ben, we said we'd pass on any questions to Ben, so you can put them in the chat as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. So that was Ben's project. So what he was using the funding for was basically to start his project. So then next we have Antonio from University of Leeds. And he was conducting some field experiments on nudge interventions. So Antonio, you can share your slides and start whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thank you. I have to say it's well suited that I'm following Ben, as I have a master's from UCD, so I was trying to spot if I could recognize anyone on the department there. Right. So should I start?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So thank you to the organizers and the EEA for organizing this, and the Center for Economic Teaching and Learning. The work that I'm going to present is joint work with colleagues at Leeds, where what we've tried to do is we wanted to see if we could encourage students to participate in formative assessment activities. By that we mean exercises that carry no marks towards their final grade, but that still allows students to see if they are progressing adequately, if they are absorbing, getting the learning outcomes that they should be at this point. Our starting point was that it is well known that feedback can help students, are beneficial to students, it enhances their performance. However, what we find is that as a practitioner, as a lecturer, that students tend to not, well, they don't participate in these activities as much as you would expect. On our own experience, only about 25 to 30% of the students take up opportunities to participate in formative feedback exercises. This is also recognized in the literature that when it's an optional activity, the students don't not necessarily opt in. There might be different reasons for this. This is a time-consuming activity at a point early or midterm in the course, so students have to put an investment early on the module when the returns are far down the line in the exam period, and they might undervalue the benefits of taking part on this activity. Some of them might just overestimate the capabilities. I'm doing well, I don't need to do any exercises. Some of them might be right, some of them might be wrong, but the matter is that we ourselves allow participation on activities when you offer these activities to students. Unfortunately, what we know from the behavioral literature is that we can modify students' behavior with information nudges. It has been shown that it can improve engagement with model activities. These are a very low-cost intervention. You just need to send an email to students with information nudge, and if it is effective, that should modify the behavior of students. So what we wanted to see is if we can use these information nudges to modify students' behavior by participating in the formative feedback activities that we are offering them. What are these formative feedback activities that we are offering? We run this in 2 modules that me and my co-authors are leading. So in each of them, we introduce 4 practice questions scattered during the duration of the term, 1 every 2 weeks. That's followed by a video answer where we basically solve the questions that we've posed to students. We discuss typical mistakes, things, shortcuts to solve things, all of that, so that they can see how the exercise compares to whatever the solution that we are offering them. I should emphasize these videos are available to everyone and everyone gets told about them. It's just that some people get told about them and some people get told about them, and some of the potential benefits of participating. I'll show you the messages in a second so that you can clearly see what's the difference between the control and the treatment group. The outcome variables nicely collected by the university systems. We basically embed the videos in our virtual learning environment, which in Leeds is called Minerva. And that automatically generates data on who is viewing, for how long, and when did they enter. So these are our 4 key variables. How many videos are students watching? This is our video frequency. We also have data on the coverage. How much of each of the videos did they watch? Did they watch 1%? Did they just click? Did they just watch the whole thing? Just half? And then we also have data on how many seconds, so altogether, because of course the students might come back and then that accumulates. So we have data on how long did they watch, and also crucially to understand a little bit the behavior during the term, when are they responding to our emails. So that's important to see if the reaction time is short or long, and whether there's differences again between the treated and the control. As I was already anticipating, we've sort of assessed the intervention by using a controlled randomized trial. Students are randomly assigned to the control and the treatment group. Each student is randomly allocated a number, and then we order students by number, and 1/2 is the treated, the other half is the control. Both groups get told about the video. It's just that they receive different. The control only receive a control condition, a notice about the video, and the treatment receive some further information. And then we just compare the average behaviors, as I'll show you later in the presentation. So what is that we are telling our students? This is the control condition that we...
Antonio,
yeah.
we can't see your slides. I don't know if you want to try sharing them again.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let me try again. So which one was the last that you saw?
I don't think we saw many of them, but if you just pick up from where you are, you can
Okay.
share the slides afterwards.
Okay. So let me reshare. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, let's see. Is that better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. Right. So as I was saying, we randomly allocate them to the control and the treatment group. And basically, we then compare their average responses measured by those 4 key variables that I mentioned earlier on. So this is the message that the control group gets sent to. Basically, we tell them, dear all, please note that the video answers for the practice question for activity so is now available on Minerva. I highly recommend reviewing it before the next set of questions is posted next Monday. Regards, signed by the module leader. The treated group received the same control condition plus an extra bit of information. We have 2 modules, so what we've done is we've took the message slightly so that they receive a slightly different treatments. In the first module, they receive what we refer to as the positive framing. So they receive the control condition plus an extra bit of message, where what we tell them is that in previous years, we found that students who participated in similar feedback activities achieve a final grade 5% greater than students that didn't participate. In the second module, we have what we call the negative framing. So basically, we tell them something similar, except that we say that not participating, that we found in previous years that students that do not participate might achieve a grade that is 5% lower. These numbers are based on previous research that we did in one of the modules that we are leading, for which we found that participating in feedback activities can result in, after controlling for students' characteristics, can result in an average grade 5% greater. So there's different estimates out there on the literature, but we thought it was better to use one that referred to one of the modules that are involved on the experiment. So there's a bit more of, we can create a little bit more of familiarity. So we, in terms of the data collection process, we had ethical approval for this in September 2023. So we started data collection when teaching started in October 2023. We had a first wave of data collection all last year. And that's what we use the money for. We also hire a research assistant to help us manage the data that we had gathered from the experiment. We had quite a lot of data files with a lot of observations and for the different variables. So it was quite tedious to get all that sorted out. So it was very handy to have the research assistant. As I said, we had 2 models in both of these. The first one is a final year module taught in the economic business school, taught by economics staff. This is the one that received a positive notch. Second module is a year 2 module taught in the engineering school, also by economics staff. And these receive the negative notch. Both are big groups, so that allowed us to have quite a big sample at this stage, although we are now engaged in a second wave of data collection, in which we have escalated a little bit, and we hope to build up our sample even further. So what can I tell you in terms of the results? So first, what are the students doing in terms of video? How many videos are they watching? So what we have here is data on that for each of the modules. First module with the positive framing, second module with a negative framing. This vertical axis is measuring how many videos did they watch in average. They had a total of 4. So for the first module with the positive framing, there was really no significant difference. In the second module, the treated group seemed to watch less than the treated, which was encouraging, but it's still not significantly different. So there was no difference between the control and the treated in the number of videos that they were watching. Where we find some differences is in how long they are watching. For the first model with the positive framing, there was no significant difference. However, for the second model with the negative framing, we did find that the students that received the nudge, in this case the negative nudge, did watch significantly more than students that received the control condition. Similarly, in terms of aggregated time that students spend watching the videos, there's no difference for the positive framing, but for the negative framing, there was a significantly different average between the two groups. What we didn't manage to quite modify, and this is something that we were keen to actually get some change in behavior, is we didn't manage to see a change in the response time that is from students. So in the first module, students took both the control and the treated took about 45 days to react, to watch the video after they were sent the messages, the notice that the message was out there, the video was out there. And for the second model with the negative framing, similarly, a little bit longer reaction time, around 55 days. Either of the groups, control and treated, didn't seem to, the difference are not significantly different. So we managed to get them to watch a little bit more with the negative framing, but we didn't manage to bring that viewing a little bit earlier on the term, which is something that pedagogically we would have liked to see, because we would like to see students engaging a little bit earlier in the term. So in sum, what we found is that the positive information nudges do not seem to have an impact. It is the negative nudges that have some impact in some of the behaviors. This is consistent with the literature that tell us that individuals care more about losses than gains. So in this case, when we told students that they might be achieve a grade 5% lower than those that participate on the feedback activities or feedback exercises, they care more about this, potentially losing this 5% that the students that are told it might make you better or 5% better off. Having said that, it's important to notice that we were not able to modify all of the behaviors that we were looking at. We managed to get students to watch for longer, but we did not manage to bring this revision a little bit earlier. So we did not manage to avoid the revision binge. And in fact, when we were looking at the profiles, time profiles of when students are watching, they seem to still accumulate quite a lot at the end of the term. I already mentioned a little bit this earlier. What we are trying to do at the moment is we have engaged on a second wave of data collection. We have escalated a little bit, so we have 4 modules now involved on this, and we are hoping to add an extra 1,000 observations to our project, which basically has the same design. We've added an extra few nudges, but including social norms to see if we can find some nudges that work better. But basically, that's it. Thank you everyone for listening, and apologies for the problem with sharing the slides. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Antonio. Yeah, so I think there's one question in the chat which relates specifically to your presentation. So Stephanie was asking, did you check if there were differences by groups? So women were women more affected by the warnings, or students with historical low or high performance, etc.?
We haven't done that yet, but it's on our to-do list. We want to see if there are any differences by characteristics. In the literature, males are known to sort of overestimate their capabilities more than females, so that would suggest that they are probably holding back from participating. So it would be interesting to see if we can level that up. We haven't looked into that yet, but we are planning to do it.
Wonderful. Right. So next we have Parama, who's going to present on what she used the Seedcorn funding for. Yes, so we can She started screen sharing. Yeah, Parama, you can start whenever you're ready.
That's great. Thank you. Can folks see my slides and hear me as well?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, and thank you for the invite to talk at this session, and of course for the Seedcorn funds as well. I'm obviously presenting on behalf of the entire CTEL team, and our associate director, Claude, is here. I can see lots of members and associates in the audience as well. So this is kind of on behalf of everyone. And I've just realized it's a bad idea to have the same color as the background on the slides as my own background. So I will do better next time. What I'm going to talk about here is a little bit about Teachy Conference, and then go into a bit more about what the Seedcorn Fund actually funded in this. So in case you don't know about Teachy Conference yet, this is an online conference, and we do like to pun on the names. So it's really about teaching economics. So it does what it says on the tin kind of situation. The history of Teachy Conference is that we started in 2020. So many of us who are here as economics educators will know that the American Economic Association runs a big annual conference called CEATRI in the US. And in 2020, for obvious reasons, it was canceled. A few of us were obviously bummed out because we were, planning to go. Can't even remember where it was, but it was somewhere fun. But also we had entire sessions that were ready to go. We had our papers and presentations really, ready to go. And all we were looking for were sort of conferences. I think we had lots of jokes about, 4 papers in search of a conference kind of thing. And because we were all at home and all online and all Zooming and things like that, Clodagh and I had a chat with our friend Doug McKee from Cornell and thought, oh, we have a conference between us. We have enough sessions to have a conference. We just do it online. So it was that kind of a one-off pandemic response, as many other things have been. But then what we found after that first year was that there was a huge market for this, in the sense that there were lots of people around the world who typically don't attend these conferences. Cost is a big thing, but perhaps even bigger than that, it's time. So people who will be interested in teach econ are normally teaching econ, and they can't sort of step out of the classroom for extended periods and go here and there in the middle of the term often to actually engage with this. The need was still there, sort of the preference to engage with this was still there, but the high cost kind of surrounding it prevented people from doing that. So that first year, we got really great feedback, which essentially said, I've never been to an economics education conference before, an education conference before, please keep this going. That was not our plan. But given the sort of overwhelming feedback, we went on with it. And the key points from the feedback was that it was free, it was online, it was in the middle of the London day, so we picked up the East and the West as well. So that's kind of the USP of the conference. What we've done since then is, as we've moved out of COVID, those conferences have all come back. We've tried to innovate to try to understand sort of, what is the value added that this conference brings us? So obviously it's a way to, at a relatively low cost, bring economics educators together. And sort of the key point was one of the big differences between online conferences and in person is it can become quite a lot and quite a lot of the same. So sort of experimenting with the format was one big part of it. We started poster sessions, partly because we were overwhelmed by the number of submissions and we wanted to sort of use those and we didn't have enough time for presentations. Poster sessions online were kind of an innovation for us. We didn't know how to handle it completely. But then we discovered YouTube premieres. It was great. Technology is fabulous. So we have different tracks. These things kind of happen over a period of time leading up to the live presentation sections. And we have premieres now. So it's asynchronous, but it has a synchronous element that it premieres at a time. And we have the speakers actually on YouTube Live sort of interacting with the presenters, with the audience as well. And then, of course, we have our standard kind of presentations and panels, and you can see Clodagh there, and she had a slightly different haircut than I think. And then in 2023, we had this idea of having watch parties. And this is obviously a big thing in the US. People have watch parties for the Super Bowl, things like that. So we thought, okay, this is a way kind of to bring the best of both worlds together. So you have the online conference elements, so people can dip in and out. It's low cost of attendance and so on and so forth. But then, you know, we're back in person and people really do benefit from just offhand chats, you know, over coffee or whatever like that. So we had our first in-person watch party on the last day of the actual conference at UCL. And the way it was set up was, you know, well, we watched the sessions together, and then we had network mixers at the end where, you know, being in person was really a nice thing to do, to talk about the presentations, just to talk about stuff and so on. And that's a picture of our first watch party. And then we started thinking from this and thought, well, so two things here. One is, you know, the whole point of this is that not everyone is in London. So having a watch party in London is nice. And these are colleagues from across the region, not just from London. But it kind of excludes those people who were the people who gave us the feedback in the first place to say, you know, I'm not going to be able to go to these, but it's really nice to have this online and so on. So this is where the Seedcorn fund came in. So we did two main things. One is that we encouraged local watch parties. So, you know, wherever you are, bring your colleagues in your departments and other departments around you, sort of in the local area together, and have a watch party. And we suggested some things we'd learned from our experience in 23 from the UCL watch party. We had a little competition. So put your pictures of your watch party on the socials. And we had prizes for the best photos. People do like the photos and they do like the prizes as well. Nothing big, but it's a little bit of fun. And we felt that, you know, the whole USP of this conference was keeping it light and sort of, you know, fun and engaging and a little bit not taking ourselves too seriously. Otherwise, yeah, it's the same old kind of conference. The big uptake we had was from the US institutions. So these are two of the pictures from the US parties. The one on the left is from Northern Kentucky University, which I have now learned is in the Cincinnati area. And I've learned that because that's what they did. They collected up people from the Cincinnati area. You know, we have a big room, we have tea, coffee, just come and sort of enjoy. It was low kind of engagement, as in low engagement required kind of situation, that these local institutions were able to just fund it themselves. So we didn't actually fund any of the parties. It's just providing a little bit of sort of cake or something like that. The one on the right is Cornell University. I mean, they've both gone really big on their brands as well. You can see there. The person kind of standing towards closer to the window is Doug McKee, who's our co-organizers of the conference as well. And we had a couple different ones across the UK as well. And we had a larger watch party this time around at UCL East, which is where the 2012 Olympics were held. So that was one element of it. So kind of bringing the conference to you wherever you are. So it can be in person and so on, but local to you. The other element were the networking mixers, which we found, you know, sometimes worked well, but Zoom breakout rooms are the death of any conversation, right? I think we've all learned that. So, you know, we needed a way to sort of do something that was more fun for the people who had to be online, who couldn't have a local watch party. And so part of the Seedcorn went into investigating platforms which kind of gamified, I guess, that's what they tell me, that conference sort of experience. So the presentation bits remained on Zoom. They remained as they were before the YouTube premieres and all of that. But then the mixers, you basically move around. You can move around rooms, you can move around tables and meet people online. So we used that. We had a lovely student who set up a few different demos did some compare and contrast of different platforms, which we now have and plan to use sort of going forward. So we have mock-ups right now going forward. We would look at this. And the idea there is twofold. One, first of all, that those people who could not have local watch parties still had some amount of interaction in a non kind of Zoom, awkward, kind of stilted kind of way. But the other thing was what we've discovered over the years is that even online conferences are expensive to run. They need a lot of work. You have to hire people to run them and so on. And the new platform provides an opportunity for branding and for sponsorships as well to help go forward. This is still early enough. We're just about now recovering from the last TEACH conference, and so that we don't really have specifics on exactly how we will run. GatherTown was our chosen platform next time around, and so we're taking a break in the coming year in 2025, and we'll be back in 2026, hopefully with all of this, all dancing, all singing kind of aspects of the conference. We are aware that online and in-person conferences have very specific positives and negatives. We've been surprised by the ongoing demand for the online version, even though we're back, as it were. And so we're really looking to sort of figure out how do we get away from the bad things about online conferences, that you don't get to meet people and have a drink and whatever it is. I'm going to stop there. I'm happy to take any questions. That's our website. You can find out about the conference, obviously, but also going super meta about more of these EconTEAching sessions as well.
Thank you, Parama. Well, I don't see any questions in the chat, but perhaps the presentation so far have given the attendees a sense of the range of projects that they can apply for if they're thinking about this Seedcorn fund. Great. So finally, we have Thomas from the University of Warsaw. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Maybe it's time to share the screen. Okay. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited. Okay. First of all, I have to change my. Yeah. I have some problems with my screen sharing. Sorry. Okay. Maybe here. And first of all, what about the project goals? My inner goal, I want to push myself to share my teaching method, Know to Self. And I've been developing this method for near 30 years, but I feel that I entrap that all this cycle of constant improvement is, it will be better, maybe next time. I applied to force myself, to push myself to share this idea. And of course, there is operation goal to prepare a series of seminars and motivate of others to demonstrate that teaching can also be a process of scientific discovery. And this is my goal. And this teaching method, Know to Self, and in this method, I am going to reduce the description experience gap in teaching and research. And I want to say it's like of course, the typical macro course, it's all about model thinking, but I would like to add some ethical questions, philosophical questions, and add for example, Marxist and Austrian School of Economics way of thinking. It's not so easy. It's I feel like Don Quixote. It's not because it's sometimes it's too hard, sometimes it's too soft. It's not so easy, and I create a lot of experimental studies, insert in my teaching curriculum, and there is a lot of classroom experiments, symbolic computational experiments, Monte Carlo and bootstrap experiments, agent-based simulation, and of course some philosophical, ethical thought experiments, which are not typical for this type of course. And I create a lot of tools, blended, and it was a complete chaos. But step by step, I create this note-to-self method. And in this method, students learn about economics as a collection of stories about themselves, hidden in textbooks, articles, scientific and popular books. And the main goal of this method is to jointly with students find these stories and deconstruct them. And this method is for everyone, I hope, because it's a mixture of this soft and this hard parts, elements. And for example, okay, you can ask, is there any narrative story about us in the mathematical formulas? For example, this is my slide. I ask my students, try to find the powerful narrative storytelling inside this simple equilibrium condition. And maybe I will ask you the same question. Can you see this type of narrative? And believe me, I need one lecture to describe all consequences of this narrative inside this simple formula. Because, for example, when we have this capital of 21st century, inside this book is this narrative. The same story we can find in a neoliberal way of thinking about economics. And because there is this formula is based on assumptions, and our theory is based on assumptions which are often hidden, outspoken, and we don't care about this assumption because, okay, it's like our basics. And of course, this type of teaching, it's like, okay, let's try, let's experience consequences of this assumption. How can we see our reality and our stories inside these books? And all my lecture are based on surprise. It's not before this before my lecture. It's a sort of ad hoc research of the experimental study, simulation, and so on, and students taking a passive role as a subjects. And after this ad hoc research, I'm trying to create a sort of scientific curiosity in students' minds. I try to ask them some question, and of course add some not only about rationality, about optimality, not only about this, and about ethical or not ethical. It is ethical or not ethical, your choices. And after that, I create a sort of online report, and it's a sort of gamification. Students receive some dollars from the First Bank of Experimental Economics, and for participation and sometimes for results, and they receive extra dollars for posting comments. This is very crucial, and not only play, but try to answer my question. And inside this research, there is a sort of social engineering element. I ask them to enter a nickname declaration, because it will be part of the report, and they can compare results from different groups, and it will be like, okay, I am anonymous, but I know myself, and I can compare with others. And this is example, and can send you this type of report. Where is the chart? There's a problem. My goodness, I hate Zoom. Where is the chart? Unbelievable. I was trying. Oh, here. Here. Go here. This is ready to use report. After 3 minutes, it's ready to analyze, to send my students. And you can see you can obtain some information. This is, of course, shiny, and you can find this type of how to say, it's like a report, but with additional part. In this type of report, we will only discuss student expectation about the course. And it's easy here to find, for example, we have this who I am. Here you can see a nickname. We can see the result, individual result and compare with different groups, and it's the main idea of Note Yourself method, to compare my type of thinking with others. And we have it's not only about teaching, only teach. And I start to think about 2 ways of flows of knowledge, from economic research to teaching, and from teaching to economic education. And students are part of this flow. And for example, one of my best, how to say, achievements. It was all about how to include two types of ethical thinking, the ontological one and consequential one, in economic education. And we've done it on the, it's our second lecture. And after that, we create a sort of experimental study, but based on data from this student experiment and simulation, and we publish this as okay, we have these two approaches, and how can we apply it in which is better, this deontological one or this consequentialist? And now I'm going to close this loop in all my materials. And first of all, how important is for me is receiving this Seedcorn fund? First of all, I use the entire grant to maintain IT tools, Shiny server, hosting, Lapsy, our software. And first, you can hear, I'm so nervous today because I have to, this is a part of my treatment to speak English because I have a sort of micro strokes, and I lost my ability to speak English. And this is my a sort of treatment to improve my English. And this is motivation. Okay, you have this grant, let's do it. Let's push, even if your English is awful.
Tomas, sorry, we do have to cut you off because the seminar ends strictly at 3 p.m.
Okay,
but yes,
only okay, sorry. Only we start this seminar online. Please, I share all my resources about this projects, experimental design, and so on. And I'm going to prepare, I just prepared about 45 seminars online, and the first one is next week. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we will be sharing the slides, so they will see all the other parts that you hadn't presented either. Yeah, so just to finish off the seminar, we just wanted to advertise that the next round of Seedcorn Fund applications is open. We hope that as attendees, you have had some inspiration about the kinds of projects that we fund. It's not an exhaustive list, but you can see some examples. Yeah, so if there's the application form, it's on the EEA website. So anyone who can, so as long as you're an EEA member who's involved in higher education teaching, you're eligible. You can apply by yourself or like individuals or teams. And there's no restrictions on career stage, unless you're a PhD student, in which case you must apply as part of a team. It's 2,000 euros for direct expenses, and the application deadline, it says on the form, it's December 15, 2024. So there's still some time to apply in case you are interested. Great. Clodagh, do you want to finish off?
Thanks, everyone. And just a reminder that there is a special EconTEAching seminar on Monday with Clara Darby, so which is online. Well, so there's some people joining her in campus in UCL, but it's mainly online. So do sign up for that as well. And thanks all for sticking with us. And thank you so much to the people who awarded the funds. It's been great to hear what you use them for. I think it's quite a new initiative. So it's great to see it coming through the other end. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.